This podcast is brought to you by On Track Studio. So I've decided to shut down On Track Studio, the physical space. And if you follow me on Instagram, you already know this news. But I wanted to sit down with you and share the reasoning behind this decision and be really quite vulnerable with what I am seeing in the industry, what I'm liking, what I'm not liking, the predictions I have for 2026 and beyond by way of marketing, and how that's all played into my decision to, I guess go a completely different way. I mean, the business On Track Studio still exists. We've still got remote clients that we are servicing as normal. So in a way, it's not like I'm closing my business down, and it kind of feels that way to me though, because I'm the one who's in the space. I come to work every day. I come to the studio. I have my office here. And transparently, a big portion of income that we generate in On Track Studio comes from the actual studio hire clients that come in and record here, whether it's regularly or one-off. It's a big part of the business. So it feels like a really risky, isn't really the right word, but it's a big change for the business structure. So I really want to, basically peel back what I'm thinking, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and have a real conversation with you. I really want to share exactly what I think, because I feel like in this space, in a podcast space, you can just speak without having to be really super concerned with how you're being perceived. So strap in, guys. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this decision. So first and foremost, every single client that I've serviced in this space is one of, just the real cons of letting go of the studio space, is letting go of my people that come in to record and the access to the amazing caliber of people that actually come into this space. I've always said that having a studio, coming from a marketing background like I have, you get to see, such, such performative types of strategies in the marketing space. It's all about how things look, how things sound, how you appear. And I've always loved having the studio space, because in studio, when you're actually coming in to record and sitting down and recording long form content, already what I've noticed is these people that record in this way are way more purpose driven. They have substance, they have a why, which is why they are putting the time in to create long form content. It's a long-term strategy. So having that kind of thinking in business and in content, all automatically they're an aligned person to me. So a real con of letting go of the studio space is that not going to be able to have my post-recording chats with the clients that I have here. And that's definitely weighing on me as something to let go of. Not to say I'm not going to have interaction with these kinds of people, because your vibe attracts your tribe. And obviously we've got the online services still existing, but I think there's nothing quite like having an interaction in person, people coming in to my business, sharing, being vulnerable and sharing what they're up to, and seeing behind the scenes. It's a real gift, a real privilege that I've been able to have for the last 4 or 5 years as this space has existed. So I'm really sad to let that go. But what I have been seeing over the last few years, particularly, about 2 years ago, I remember distinctly that I had someone inquire about coming in to record here, to record ads for their business, where they wanted to shoot founder podcast style content in order to put across their ad. So they were going for a creative style, and they wanted the look of having a microphone and being a founder who has a lot to say, and for the sake of getting leads and getting sales. And it was in that moment where I was just like, whoa, a big reason why I started this business was, and you've heard the story if you've come here before, so I'll swoop on past it as much as I can. But for people who are listening for the first time and haven't heard this, a massive reason why I started this business and started a studio is because I'm so passionate about depth-based marketing. And when you are a purpose-led business, when you have all of these true why behind what you do, actually communicating that on a two-dimensional feed is quite challenging. And that's why having access to cameras and microphones and long form content is such an asset for those businesses that want to express that depth of what they're doing. And so that's why I started this business, to make content that connects for the people who are that purpose-led business, who have facilitated such massive transformations in their products and services, to give them the space to be able to showcase that and make it easy for them to stand out from the flood of forgettable content on social media platforms. At the time, it was like a lot of static images, a lot of aesthetic, graphics and grids, and that was what marketers were kind of employed to do, was to create that real aesthetic aspirational identity. And for me, when I was working with the brands I was working with, I'm like, we had real purpose behind what we were doing. Let's create something that is so obviously multidimensional that you can't even confine it to a static image. So a huge reason why I started this business was because of that. Then when I had that moment where I had an inquiry about filming ad content, I was like, great that podcast style content is what the algorithms and the ad strategy is demanding for, because it sets that appearance for that substance-based, purpose-led, meaningful content. But in the same breath, I was sort of like, whoa, you are just pretending to have a lot to say, to be purpose-led, to have, long-form content for the sake, like it felt like a shortcut, to be completely transparent. I was just like, not in a judgmental way, but in a real critical thinking way, like, wow, this sacred space that I've created for people who are the difference is being infiltrated by pretenders. Like, no shame, like, do what you got to do to get that ads creative. I'm all for it. And I was winning because they were hiring my studio. But I was like, interesting. And then ever since then, that moment of that light bulb of like, oh, okay, people are just doing it for perception. I've been watching the online space shift to what people are creating across all their platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and all of this stuff. It's like people are attempting to look like they are an authority. And they're doing that now since the rise of video content and the real like technological advancements where you can, kind of get this really quite a high quality look from really minimal equipment. Like even with your phone, if you have the right backlights and the right set, your video can look really quite high definition. And if you're in a quiet spot with a microphone and there's not too much interference, the equipment is no longer like a barrier to entry, which I love because it lowers the barrier to entry for those purpose-led people, and particularly in the coaching space, like coaching and consulting, it's really hard to showcase your results that you get for people because they're intangible. Whereas like this space allows you to do that. If you can speak into, you can, learn the skills to storytell, particularly with the kinds of resources that I've developed over my time. Like it can be really quite easy as like pumping in a transcript into my like system that I've created, a coaching transcript or a meeting transcript, and then turning that into a episode. It can be that easy to create really high quality, engaging, conversion led content. So now with the equipment not being a barrier to entry and sort of the attraction, people are sort of catching on, like podcasting or being perceived as a podcaster is the way to build your personal brand in, 2025, 2024 at this time. So witnessing people kind of catch on and wanting to appear as they are this person had me feeling a certain kind of way, because I'm like, well, you're still parroting the same information as your competitors, but you've just got better lighting and equipment to make you appear like you are more authoritative in the space. It's sort of the same issue I was facing back in the day when like aesthetics were the problem. I'm not saying everyone who has great lighting and a great setup is doing this. Absolutely not. Like I think I work with people every day being like really quite generous with their content, really quite operating from a place of sharing value and being able to showcase their real lived experience. But equally, we have now in the industry a lot of people who can just talk the talk, and just because they have the lighting cameras and backlights and set that they, I guess like trying to appear a certain way. For me, after like now kind of being 2 years, I would say, in the space where people have just been putting out, quite high quality looking content, but in my opinion, the value isn't there from the sense of they're still saying what everyone else is saying. There's no sense of like real boldness in how they approach, or real uniqueness in their perspective and their approach and what they're actually doing. It's awesome in a way because, you know, I can now go and help people to really refine the ingredients required to actually sell out their offers. And I don't need to worry their mind or their budget in hiring a space, because what I'm noticing with my remote clients, and particularly most recently with my coaching clients off the back of, you know, working with them, not even necessarily on the production of their editing, just purely working with them on what content to create, how to get leads generated from their long form content, and how to actually increase visibility on their brand through the methods that I have obviously created from On Track as an agency. And I'm like, okay, the reason why I started this business was to make maximum impact on the people that are making maximum impact, and bridging the gap between really just wanting to make content easy for them. So if I can then really extend my service base from an online perspective and partner with people that have all the right things, the people that I align with, and then, you know, cut costs from that perspective. Like, they don't need all the bells and whistles that a, you know, studio provides necessarily. And now I'm seeing this shift from looking the part being like the big differentiator of how you can stand out from your industry, to actually walking the walk. And the quality of the content is now just an industry standard. It's because it's accessible for us all with the right, like I have with my clients that I work with on the remote basis, or even on a coaching basis. I have an equipment and software checklist that we go through according to their budget. And for some, they might want to invest in a camera. But for a lot of them, you know, we can build a really great, you know, studio set at their home between $250 and $500 and just use their phone as the filming thing. And I'm like, how great. I'm not tied to the bells and whistle of a studio space just because I created one. In fact, I'm tied to my mission to help people market themselves better and help make real difference in audience. And I'm sort of came to this realization with the lease coming to an end, where I'm like, well, yeah, I could go balls to the wall and absolutely invest in the better cameras, better lighting, bigger space, more set options, teleprompters, like go hard in the equipment space. And now being in the industry, seeing the demand build. Like when I first started this business, it was a stretch. They'd be squinting their eyes and turning their head when I'm talking to them about the potential of, you know, how they can grow their business through content and all this stuff. Now you talk, I say, oh yeah, I own a podcast studio, and people are like, oh, that's smart, good thinking. And I'm like, it wasn't smart when I started it. But, you know, I see this real potential, and like it's a really attractive option for me to just go, cool, I see the demand, I know what to do. It's this like clear path forward of how I could like make lots of money, quote unquote, by pursuing this video optimized studio avenue, and just continue down that path. And I see these studios popping up now that are killing it. I'm seeing like what they charge. I've even got like my remote clients who are going down, and she's moved to Sydney, and she's like, I'm looking at the studios and it's like minimum $200 to hire the space for an hour. And I've always charged $90 an hour at my space. And I'm just like, wow, there's monetary gain in this game now. And like, if I could just, you know, I see it, and it's this attractive option for me where I could just go, it's not sell my soul, but I could just go, cool, if I'm purely money mindset, bang, here's your business model. Seeing there's so much data out there. There's so many mentors I could invest in who have built like even better studios than mine. And I could go down that avenue. But then I think, wait a second, that's got nothing to do with what I want to do. I'm a marketer. I love helping service-based businesses stand out from this saturated industry. And I have started this whole damn thing for that mission and that mission only. And I don't want to get distracted from my own personal fulfillment just because of the money opportunity. And I sat down and I'm like, wow, how crazy is it that I'm potentially, leaving this really profitable business model on the table right at the peak of my potential career, right? Like I am now established. People know me for having a studio. I'm leaving it all on the table because I'm not passionate about it. It's like this real moment for me. And equally, I also feel like from my experience in working behind the scenes, like being marketing manager for brands and in my agency experience back in the day, I remember this moment where I realized things that look good, this shiny object, right? It's actually falls short. So back when I was working in an agency, it was all about clicks and impressions, and we would just sell our reports based on how much exposure our content or ads were getting. We would be able to, well, not me personally, but I remember being in the meeting rooms where they were able to bluff this reporting to be like, look at all the clicks we're getting, look at all the eyeballs we're reaching, and then would come the question where they would ask, what about the sales? And I would watch my superiors at the time bluff their way through. I didn't know it was bluffing until a few months later when the same question would rise, like, where are the sales? And I would realize, wait a second, like, where are the sales for these businesses? They're investing big money into this agency retainer. And month after month, we're being like, oh, here's some views. Oh, here's this and that. And then ultimately not getting them the sales. And I feel the same shift happening right now in the content space of like, yeah, so we know how to make content look good. We potentially are getting reach with our content. But for me, I'm like, this is the exact same pattern that I witnessed, 5 years ago when I left agency and started blazing my own trail in this space, because I'm like, wait a second, who cares what it looks like? Who cares about appearances? And I see this trend happening now. So for you as a business owner, don't get caught up in the appearances of a content. If you make it look good, doesn't mean that it's going to ultimately get you those sales. And B, even if you are thinking a bit bigger, if you're tuning into my podcast and you know the value of, long form content, don't get caught up in ticking the box. Yes, I recorded a YouTube or podcast episode, and ticking that box and thinking just because you're doing that you're going to get the results, because there's an art to how you speak in your podcast that actually get conversions. There's necessary conversion pathways that need to be set up in order to get that listener or viewer into your brand's ecosystem and getting those touch points built up. And there's a real strategy that goes into that. And yes, you need the high quality video and audio, but it's no longer your differentiating factor. It's more so an industry standard. It's like, if you're putting up a blurry video that you can't hear someone in, swipe, not even going to get the visibility. So it's this really interesting time for me on a personal level to just look at how short-sighted, that attractive business model that I mentioned before. Yes, I think it will go for a couple of years and go bang. But then I also think that over time, unless you're partnering with someone to actually coach you through what content is required to not only look good, but how to say it, and the ecosystem that needs to be set up to not only attract the viewer, but pull them into your world to get them on a sales call. These are the ingredients that, obviously for myself, I'm working with my clients on. And what I'm seeing is, especially after having exposure to my remote clients who are having that definitely lower production look, but getting the results that they need, getting the sales calls booked in. And it's a big reason why I actually, wrote this book, because, the content exit for me, yes, of course, I mentioned in there that it's about, you need to have that high quality element in terms of the equipment, but most of it's all about what you actually need to do to get the client, So I think a big part of why I'm able to let go of the physical space as well is because that this book, I've been writing it, I wrote it over the course of a year, and I really got the purpose of the book was to help people that I couldn't help personally, and just to give them the tools and frameworks of what's required. And after writing it and then reading it back, it's like, wow, there's a lot more ingredients to this game, especially in 2026 and beyond, than just the fact that you're recording high quality video and the fact that you're recording long form content. So massive reason what went into that decision. And then also for me personally, I have personal goals of being able to be way more flexible. Like actually not having a brick and mortar business is going to allow me to be able to travel as I work and work with people across the globe. And also my editors, like Bella, she's going to Europe next year, next March. And so it doesn't matter because there's no, like, she can still continue to work. I can support her dreams of traveling and growing up her freelancing business while I support my own. And I've always been a massive fan of like that. Like, let's just like actually build our dream life, like not just get caught up in the what looks good on paper, because I, you know, started and left 3 uni degrees just because I thought that's what a good career was. It had to be uni operated. And I've learnt it's not necessarily true. So yeah, I just wanted to sit down and peel back that layer, I guess, and of what I'm predicting, and a little bit of a vulnerable share of like, you know, I, as much as I value high quality visuals, like I'm seeing a lot happen without the bells and whistles. And equally having a chat to people, like I ran into someone recently and he has a podcast and he's invested lots of money into the setup of his studio, and having a chat to him and him just saying, I haven't seen any return on my spend in this thing over 2 years of doing it. And I said to him, because we were just at a friend's barbecue, obviously just got talking, you know, mutual interests. I'm like, that's not right. Like, you should be absolutely filling out booked calls and getting clients at this point in your business, and going through like what he's actually not doing. It was really obviously blatantly obvious to me on like the gaps that he needed to fill and before he can actually achieve the result. And I just sort of thought, how many people out there are investing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into setups or agencies, or, you know, not so much agencies, but more so how many other people out there are investing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into their setups and then not getting the result. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be someone who people can come to and be like, okay, here's what you need. Here's the ingredients, and on every single level to actually get the result. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. And also thank you so much for everyone who has reached out to me and saying congratulations on that post, because I was like, wow, I'm so grateful that people are saying congratulations to me closing my studio. I was like, I don't know what I expected, but I joked to my partner that I was like, you know, really scared to make the post and the announcement that I was closing. And he's like, what did you expect them to do? To be like, shame on you, Sophie. We wanted that space. And I was like, I don't know what I was expecting, but like the love and yeah, like beautiful messages and the congratulations angle that people have been coming at me from after announcing the closure, I couldn't be more grateful. Like, thank you for that. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will still be recording. You'll be still, you know, hearing from me. And yeah, let's fucking go. 2026. Let's see what we can do.